Those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Mrs. Hajdukiewicz. Some of the adults who have spoken in chapel have begun by showing you a high school picture of themselves, so I thought it only fitting that I begin on the same note. Let's see if that'll work. Yes? No? Yes? Oh, boo. It's all right, it'll work. I don't know. Not that. That's sad. Oh, now we're going to learn about some. Yeah, we just learned bones. Okay. All right. See, this is like the sort of thing that gives me stress. Okay, there we go. Oh, cute. So this is a yearbook picture for senior superlatives. That's me and my buddy Matt, and we were voted most competitive by our peers. This makes sense for Matt. He was one of the best soccer players in Massachusetts, went on to play Division I soccer. Me, not an athlete. So being named most competitive is probably not a good thing. In middle school and high school, I was a really stressed out kid. My parents were actually pretty laid back, but I was really hard on myself. I was hyper-focused on my grades. I was always the first one in the class to ask, will this be on the test? Do we have to know this? And I obsessed about every single point and how it would affect my GPA. I would bet that my teachers and my peers probably found me pretty annoying. I was also really anxious about social stuff. I was a kid who was just on the edge of the popular crowd, but I desperately wanted to be inside that inner circle. I am so thankful that we didn't have social media back then because that would have stressed me out even more. I honestly don't know how you all handle that as well as you do. To be honest with you, I really was not comfortable in my own skin during my middle and high school years. So I would pretend to like things like the Grateful Dead, who I actually hate, but I pretended for a long time there that I would pretend to like things that I didn't like at all just to fit in with the popular crowd. I felt like a poser all the time. I didn't feel pretty enough or popular enough, smart enough, and that took a toll on me. In middle school and high school, I was sick a lot. I was the most stressed out during my senior year, and I missed 28 days of school. That's like missing the whole month of February. I had horrible stomach issues, and I was constantly getting strep throat and other ailments that kept me home. And being home so much only made me more stressed out because I always had so much work to make up. It was a vicious cycle. I had countless medical tests to try and figure out what was going on, and the unknown cause of it made it actually even more worrisome. I wish now that I had known more about stress and the effects of anxiety on the body, because I now understand that my body was responding to all the pressure that I was putting on myself. This is a very busy and stressful time for everyone. In talking with my students, my own kids, and my colleagues, there's the common thread of feeling overwhelmed and stressed out. And I see myself in so many of you when you're worrying about your grades, college applications, and social stuff. And it's not just students who are feeling it. My colleagues have been so busy with grading and comments, college recommendations, and managing families on top of all of it. We all have so much on our plates, and the important thing to recognize is that we are all feeling it. This is also the time of year when people start getting sick. These two things are very interrelated. So I wanted to talk to you today about our brains and how stress and worrying can affect all of us. We have all been learning about mindfulness and relaxation, but I think it's really important to understand why we are doing this so it will be more meaningful, and perhaps you will learn these strategies on your own if you aren't doing that already. This is going to be a little bit of an anatomy and psychology lesson, so I hope you'll bear with me because I'm hoping that together we can learn how to manage stress and anxiety and just feel better. All right, so not long ago, here comes the bear guy. Not long ago, just a few tens of thousands of years ago, our ancestors were all living in caves and just trying to survive day to day. They face stress in the form of physical danger, such as getting eaten by a bear. There's a part of your brain called the amygdala. All right, there it is. It's that pink almond-shaped structure right there. Its job is to respond to danger. This structure is also called the fear center, and it's a very primitive part of your brain. Although it's quite small, it can have a huge effect on your daily life. Back in the day, when you would encounter a bear in the woods, your eyes would sense it. A message would then be sent to the amygdala, and your amygdala would send a signal to your adrenal glands to release adrenaline and cortisol. Those are 2 hormones. Adrenaline stimulates what we call the fight or flight response. That's this. So what happens when you go into fight or flight? Your eyes dilate so you can see more clearly. Your heart rate will increase to pump more blood into your muscles. Our muscles will tense so that we can get ready to take off. You'll breathe quicker so that you can get more oxygen to your muscle tissue. Blood will be diverted to your muscles so that you can run. And blood will be diverted away from non-essential bodily functions like digesting your food. That can wait till later. So right now I'm in fight or flight because I'm up here. So dry mouth, I wish I'd brought my water. It's kind of over there, but that's all right. So, but that's common, right? See, thank you. But it's true. That's why you get a dry mouth when you're standing in front of all these people. Okay. Can't run away. Got a deal. All right, so after we've faced and escaped, hopefully, or you're dead, the bear attack, our bodies are supposed to rest. This is what we're supposed to do. You're supposed to go back to your cave, take a nap, and let your body regroup. We stop releasing adrenaline, so our heart rates should go back to normal. Blood flow should resume to all your tissues. Your digestion should start back up, and breathing should slow back down. That's how it's supposed to work. Here's the thing. Your amygdala is actually not all that smart, and it does not know the difference between running away from a bear or sitting down for a final exam or getting stuck in a traffic jam. It cannot tell the difference between a significant real threat like a fire and a less dangerous threat like being late for a class. Under both situations, the amygdala will fire off the alarm that you're in a dangerous situation, and it will trigger fight or flight. We may start sweating, our hearts will race, we might feel stomach pain because our bodies are no longer digesting food properly. Your amygdala is actually so clueless that you can actually think about something scary, like a big test or getting into an argument with a friend, that you will go into fight or flight without even being in the situation. Hands up. How many of you find it tough to fall asleep at night because your mind is racing? That's definitely me. All right, that's a lot of people. You are thinking about all the stuff you need to do or things you forgot to do. You are basically trying to go to sleep while you're in the middle of fight or flight. We need to train our brains to go into the opposite of fight or flight, and that's called rest and digest. That's where mindfulness exercises, relaxation, breathing, and calming techniques come in. As I mentioned, after fight or flight, you're supposed to go back to your cave and sleep it off. But in today's society, we don't have time for that. So many of us are in almost a constant state of fight or flight. This can take an actual terrible toll on your health. We are releasing those fear hormones all day long. We need to find time throughout our day to chill out. While we may not be able to go back to your cave, we can find a few minutes throughout the day to de-stress and return our bodies to their restful states. Chronic stress can lead to a number of physical problems, many of which I experienced when I was your age. Having some of these right now. I had debilitating stomach pain because my stress was so high, the food I ate wasn't digesting properly. When you have a lot of stress or worries, your immune system becomes compromised, and guess what? You get sick more often. Colds, sore throats, coughs, asthma attacks, even body rashes and acne will become more common because the immune system isn't working as it should. Worrying also leads to less sleep at night, which can result in even more illness. Blood pressure can increase. Weight gain is common because the body isn't breaking down food properly and is storing it as fat. Remember that hormone cortisol I told you about a few minutes ago? It stimulates appetite. So guess what we end up doing? Stress eating. Studies have shown that cardiovascular disease can result from chronic stress as well. Have you ever noticed that when you're stressed out, you get really snippy with your friends? That's because when you're constantly worrying, the amygdala becomes hypervigilant. It literally thinks you're living in a war zone. So even little harmless things can make us overreact and lash out. So there's a couple things we can do to combat anxiety. One is meditation, prayer, and relaxation. It is a scientific fact that by calming down our breathing, we can calm down our amygdalas. Try it. It couldn't hurt, and it could really help you at some point. Mindfulness can help us to discern real threats, like the bear, from things that feel real. It gives us the space and awareness to be able to recognize our thoughts as just thoughts, so we can have the power to choose to let unhelpful things about something like failing a test go, so we can rest and digest. If you can take time to just be present, focus on the moment, instead of thinking about the next class or the missed homework assignment, in essence, it's like going back to your cave and giving your amygdala a rest. There are even apps for your phone. There's one called Calm. Does anybody have Calm? No? Oh, it's good. It can help you if you don't know how to do this on your own. Check it out. Other relaxation techniques include focusing on a soothing word, like the word peace or the word calm, visualization of tranquil scenes. So for me, I like to think about scuba diving underwater. Repetitive prayer, for instance, saying something like the Lord's Prayer. Yoga and Tai Chi. With my own kids, I did something called the gratitude list. When they couldn't sleep, they kind of hate it, but I still made them do it. And it sounds cheesy, but it works for me. So I start with A, and I think about what in my life I'm grateful for that starts with that letter. So for instance, I'm grateful for my husband, Andy. And then I think about, oh, isn't that cute? I think about Andy, and I think about why I'm grateful for having him in my life. And then I move on to B. Usually I'm asleep by like G, okay? So it's a really nice way to fall asleep because you're thinking about all the things in your life that are blessings to you. The second thing you can do is exercise. Exercise releases hormones that give us a natural high and calm you down. Again, yoga is a great combination of exercise and meditation. It's something to try if you find yourself with a lot of worries. The third solution to stress is relying on your social support systems. People in your support network can be your friends, your parents, your advisor, teachers, or counselors such as Ms. Holmes or Ms. Werner. Talking out our worries can help. It's important to know that you are not alone. It is very common to have worries. We all have them. The way to combat anxiety is not to ignore or avoid it, but by acknowledging our stressors and figuring out the best way to get through it. I honestly didn't start to feel better physically until I started being more comfortable with myself and I let people know the real me. I also needed to acknowledge my worries and make changes in my life to decrease them. My stomach issues completely disappeared, literally the day I dropped out of veterinary school, but that is a story for another day. I wish I could go back and tell high school Laura to chill out once in a while. What I mean by that is not to ignore the worries that I had, but to take time out of my day to relax and just breathe. Be myself, take a walk, take a nap. I'm not sure I would have listened to middle-aged Laura giving me advice, but perhaps I wouldn't have felt so sick all the time and missed all those days of school. Perhaps I would have been prouder of my love for Duran Duran and less worried about what other people were thinking about me. And maybe I would have been voted most competitive for the right reasons, like actually being good at a sport. Thank you.